Welcome to episode 3 of Claxton-Hepburn's 25 Feeds 5. I'm Michelle Catlin, Community Outreach Coordinator.
I'm Shannon Van House, a diabetes educator at Claxton.
And I'm Steve Haas, Director of Food Service at Claxton.
Today we're going to cook one of my favorite dishes ever since I was a kid is Cubesteak with sauteed vegetables and home fries with chives. The first thing we're going to do is we took the Cubesteak out of the package and we're going to salt and pepper it and let it sit at room temperature for about 15 minutes. Any kind of beef that you want to cook really fast, you should let it get to room temperature. It also helps it be more tender and it cooks a lot quicker. So we're just going to salt and pepper each side. We got this family pack of Cubesteak at Save-A-Lot, and as you can see there's plenty of meat here for everybody. Cubesteak generally doesn't shrink a lot.
So is Cubesteak, like, is it just hamburger, or what exactly is Cubesteak?
It's actually like your leaner cuts, like your top round, your sirloin. And what they do is they kind of like flatten it and kind of, it makes it more tender. You can see how all this, so like they kind of pounded it.
One piece of steak.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to put some salt and pepper on that side. And again, you don't need a whole lot because we're going to add a little more when we're cooking.
And could you add some other seasonings? Like what are the
Oh yeah. I kept it simple for today, but when I cook it, I usually put like garlic on top of it, garlic powder, sometimes I'll put onion powder, but we're cooking with chives today and onions and the vegetables, so I didn't want to overpower it too much, but it's, you know, whatever you like, put on it. If you like sriracha seasoning, or some people like that Montreal steak seasoning, just be aware it's a lot of salt in that though. So we're going to set this aside at room temperature and we're going to get our potatoes going. So potatoes. So we've got some started here.
So we're just gonna wash the potato, and then we're just going to cut the potato into small bite-sized pieces.
Yep. The smaller that you cut them, the quicker they'll cook. Potatoes are one of those vegetables that get kind of a bad rap, but they're high in vitamin B. They also have a lot of fiber in them, especially if you notice we left the skins on. A lot of your vegetables is where most of your like fiber is on the skin, so you want to try and keep them on whenever you can. There's a lot of different varieties of potatoes, but today we're going to use russets. I like russets because they're better for frying. They're a little bit more of a softer potato, so they don't take as long to cook, and they're usually more flavorful, and they also work really good for mashed potatoes.
And you want to keep them about uniform size too, right?
Yep.
So that they all cook evenly.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to use a little olive oil in our frying pan. So we're going to walk over here. The reason I like olive oil is olive oil is a natural fat. It's part of your omega-3s.
It's a polyunsaturated fat, so it helps to raise good cholesterol and lower bad cholesterol.
Yep, and your body does need some good fat. It also needs some bad fat, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But there's different kinds of olive oil, and I got extra virgin olive oil because it's the least processed of all the olive oils. It also has the most flavor. It's a little more expensive, but it does go a long way. Okay, so we're going to put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, but who measures? We're just going to kind of coat the bottom of the pan like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to toss our potatoes in there. Like that. And then we're going to put a little salt and pepper on them. And what we're going to do is we're going to let these just continue to cook. We don't put the chives in yet because the chives don't take that long to cook, and herbs you want to put them in towards the end of cooking to maintain their flavor and texture. So we're just going to kind of keep flipping these around and keeping an eye on them. And again, you want to do them around medium heat. When we get towards the end, we'll turn them up to a higher heat to let them brown. So I'm going to turn these down just a little bit. All right, while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and we can chop the chives and get that ready. And then we'll work on the veggies. Alright, so next what we're going to do is we're going to get our peppers ready. We do have some already ahead of time, but Shannon's going to demonstrate how you can properly cut a pepper. We've used a couple different kinds of peppers, red and green. You can use whatever you like.
Just give a different variety of flavor.
Yeah, and peppers are also considered a really good food. They're a member of the capsicum family. They're very low in calories, and they're really a good source of vitamin C, K, and A. And they also make a handy snack because you can just slice them up and, you know, dip them, or portable, put them in a baggie to go.
Or we got these ones we got at Save-A-Lot already cut. So
Yes.
already cut into
Yeah,
into squares.
if you're looking to save time, you can find a lot of this stuff pre-chopped in most of the grocery stores now, and it's really not much more, maybe 50 cents more, $1, something like that. So peppers come in a bunch of different varieties. The smaller the pepper and the thinner the skin, the hotter they are. The larger the pepper and the more colorful they are, the sweeter they are.
Steve gave me an interesting fact about peppers, that there are male and female peppers. So the way to tell is to look at the bottom, and if the bottom has 4 lumps, it's a male pepper. If it has 3 lumps, it's a female pepper. And apparently the females are sweeter, and they just have more seeds.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put some olive oil in here. Again, I don't measure, but it's a couple tablespoons. And we're going to go ahead and add our peppers. And we're going to start cooking the peppers first because they take the longest to cook of our vegetables. So we're going to go ahead and put those on the stove. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do while the peppers are cooking is we're going to go ahead and get the onions ready because they take the second longest to cook. I usually use like a sweet white onion, but you can use whatever kind of onion you like. Onions and chives, which are also going to be in our potato recipe, are a member of the allium family. That's like your leeks, your garlic, your onions, your chives, shallots. And they contain a lot of antioxidants. They're also anti-inflammatories, antivirals, and antibiotic properties in them as well. And they're full of flavor, and they come in so many varieties. So Shannon's going to briefly show you how to chop an onion.
So all I did was cut the onion in half, and this is just an easier way to sort of get the peel off, because the dry peel, you don't want that in your cooking because it doesn't have good texture. So I just cut one end of it off, and you can just peel off the dry parts of it. And cut this end off, and then we just cut it into longer slices. So to do that, you can just cut it again in half, and then just cut slices, and they end up separating into longer pieces.
We're going to go ahead and add that to our mixture. Alright, so we've got our chives chopped. We're going to add those to the potatoes soon, but shortly we're going to add the mushrooms. So we've already went ahead and chopped some up ahead, but Shannon's going to quickly demonstrate how to do a mushroom. First thing you want to do is wash them because mushrooms grow in dirt. Mushrooms are also considered a superfood, and they're also a fungus. They've been used in Eastern medicine for centuries. They contain antiviral, anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, and antibacterial compounds. They're loaded with selenium, which is a cancer-fighting ingredient, and they're fairly inexpensive, and they're really versatile. You can pretty much put them in anything.
They have such a different texture too than other things.
Yeah, and there's like I didn't realize there's so many varieties of mushrooms out there, but this is just your typical white mushroom that you can find and save a lot. So we're going to use these.
Beautiful.
Is there sound on?
No, I'll just put music over this.
Alright. Give me a little bit bigger pan, though.
We're
gonna go ahead and
Yeah.
Yes, chives.
love chives.
Give me life.
Hey. Okay, so we have all our vegetables done. They're steaming, piping hot. I personally don't like anything mushy, so my vegetables are kind of in between crunchy and mushy. However, you can choose to do it however you want. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cook the meat. The reason why we leave the meat to the last is because it only takes a few seconds. So while this is all finishing, kind of melding and cooking, we're going to kind of flash fry these, and then we're going to eat.
Can you do the meat like well done and medium well?
Yeah, Cubesteak is, because it's so thin, it's kind of hard to do, but I usually cook it, when I fry it, I usually cook it about 4 minutes on each side. When we grill it, it's about the same. You can also broil it. Again, it's really versatile, or you can choose to simmer it in a stew or something like that. But for today, we're going to quickly flash fry it with some butter in a frying pan. And I know you say butter, but our body does need some good fat. And butter is actually a pretty whole product. I think it has like cream and some salt and some enzymes. You can also get unsalted butter. Butter also is a rich source of vitamin A, and it also has vitamin E and K. It's also very inexpensive and very versatile. And if you look at the label of butter compared to margarine, there's probably at least 10 to 15 ingredients in margarine, and butter there's usually 1 or 2. So we're going to go ahead and cut a couple pats of that, throw it in our frying pan, and we'll get our steaks going. Alright, first thing we're going to do is put a couple pats of butter in there. Again, I don't really measure anything, so we're going to just let that melt quickly. You want to have your pan right around medium at first to get the butter melted. And once we get it all spread around, we're going to kind of turn up just a little bit because we want to cook the steaks kind of fast, because when you're tougher cuts of meat, you don't really want to overcook them. Alright, so let's turn that up just a little bit. And we'll go ahead and we can put the steaks in. We'll just put that to the side and it'll keep melting. Yep, so go ahead and start putting the steaks in. And cube steaks, you can cut them in half if you want. Generally, they come kind of big. So, you know, it's whatever you want to do. We got quite a few here, so we're probably going to have to cook a couple at a time. Like I said, you can also broil them or grill them. Right.
So broiling them, Michelle, would be what?
You would use like an oven broiler pan, and you would stick them under your broiler. Most ovens come with the broil feature.
So the broil in this oven is, there's a setting up here that says broil, and that's just a more intense heat coming from the top.
Yep.
So it really sears it well.
Yep. Then we're just going to add a little more salt and pepper on them as they're cooking. We'll turn that up a little more because we want to get them sizzling. We can put a little more salt and pepper on them. And again, if you want to put other seasoning on, now would be the time.
And the smell in this kitchen right now is amazing.
Yeah.
From all the vegetables.
Yeah. So we're just going to let these cook on this side for about 4 to 5 minutes. And then we're going to flip them. The cube steaks are done. If you look, there's minimal blood coming out of them. And again, you can cook them as long as you want or as little as you want. But just remember, the longer you cook them, the tougher they'll be. And we have like a nice little broth here from the meat and the butter that kind of helps keep them tender. And we're going to go ahead and pile those on the plate. And the thing about beef is it will continue cooking after you take it out of the heat. So remember, you know, if you want it done medium, you might want to take it off a little bit before it's medium. So we're just going to finish up the rest of it and then we'll eat. All right, so here we are with our finished meal, our cube steak, fresh onions, peppers, and mushrooms and potatoes. It looks delicious. The one thing that you might have noticed throughout the cooking is I did use salt and pepper in just about everything I cooked. And I do use a lot of salt and pepper in my cooking. Pepper is also a part of the peppers family that we talked about earlier. It has a lot of properties in it. Also, it's a food enhancer, and it doesn't really, you don't need a lot of it. A little bit goes a long way. The other thing is salt. Your body actually does need some salt. And if you eat a diet that's mostly filled with whole foods that don't have salt in it, it's okay to use salt. And salt is actually, it's a flavor enhancer, it's a preservative, it's a tenderizer, and it also has iodine in it, which is another chemical that your body needs as well. So
most salt in our diet, when we have too much salt, comes from boxed and processed foods anyway. So
yeah, a lot of times people say, oh, I can't eat salt, but if you're eating whole food, then yes, you can. Of course, you want to eat it in moderation like butter, but you know, feel free to use the salt shaker if you're not eating anything processed. So Shannon's gonna stack our plate. So Shannon, what are you putting on there for serving size?
I started off with probably about 1/4 of the plate with our starchy vegetable, our potato, and I'm going to try to fill up about half of it with our non-starchy vegetables. So our peppers and onions and mushrooms. So these are non-starchy vegetables. They have lots of fiber and filling. They don't raise blood sugar too much. Potatoes will raise your blood sugar, so if you're watching your carbohydrates, you want to watch your serving size of your potatoes. So about half, maybe a little bit better, is our non-starchy vegetables. And then we're going to have our protein serving.
Yep, and these look like they're big servings, but cube steak is fairly thin. So if you were to fold it in half, it would probably be the 4-ounce serving that's usually recommended. You know, most of your meats are, you know, about the size of a deck of cards. So again, if we folded it up, it's a deck of cards. And there you have it, a healthy meal that took about 35 minutes with prep and cooking.
So we have our beautiful meal here that with plates to serve 5 people. We'd like to thank our sponsor today, Save-A-Lot and Excellus, for contributing to this. Thank you so much.
We also want to thank you guys for participating, because without your participation, this program wouldn't be successful. Thank you.